Hey guys, it's Jenny Wallach with the Wallach Group, Keller Williams Realty in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you so much for coming back and watching another episode of Agent Success Secrets. This time I'm with Sarita Dua, and she is such an amazing agent with our company, Keller Williams, a leader, and has so much insight and wisdom to offer. So thanks, Sarita, for being with me today.
Thank you, Jenny, for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime I see you on stage, on Facebook, anywhere, ever, you always are so put together and classy and deliver such a great message that slaps us all in the face.
I don't know about all that, but thank you.
In a good way.
In a good way.
I'm always learning so much from you. And so that's why I want to share all your wisdom with everyone. So let's just set it up. Where are you from? How did you get in this awesome business? And where are you now and all that stuff?
Sure, absolutely. I am from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. And my folks actually came from India in 1964 for education. And that will come back in this art conversation as well as a theme in my life. So they came here for opportunity. I grew up with really great parents and they're still in Michigan, hardworking, strong work ethic. And I did know when I graduated college and also in Michigan that I wanted to actually leave because at the time the automotive industry was a little rough.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my undergrad in electrical engineering and I had my job offer for Intel, and I worked for a large company, Intel, for 7 years, and then a bunch of startups for about 14. What was really cool about my tech career is that I had that engineering background, but I was also client facing and I gravitated towards sales and marketing, business development, partnerships. I learned pretty quickly if you can be technical, but also be able to communicate and show people how they can save time or money. That's a pretty valuable skill. So I loved my career. We ended up in Portland, Oregon 19 years ago for my husband's job. He works in footwear for Nike. So we moved to Portland, and I continued to work in tech. Again, I loved it, but then we kind of looked up. We had a 2 and a 4-year-old, and we were both traveling so much that somebody had to make a change. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I thought, I work for these companies and they're great, but how do I get a little more control of my time in case my kids need me? So I looked into careers that involved, being entrepreneurial, that wouldn't need a lot of cash, that would be more service-based. And it was kind of like real estate, financial planning, insurance, maybe mortgages. And I will admit it, I didn't do real estate because I love architecture. I've learned to love it. But it really, if you think about all those fields, they're about people and project management. So it was really a good segue into what I had been doing. And so I became an agent and got my license in 2003, started in 2004, was at a couple of boutique brokerages, and then joined Keller Williams in 2010. And I haven't looked back. I love it. I really see, sometimes I wonder if I should have started sooner in real estate, but you are the sum of all of your experiences and all the people you know, and all of what I did, I think, make me better at what I do.
Well, I've seen you share your story so many times on the big stage. So if you got to Keller Williams in 2010, it's 2019 now, you got there pretty quick. How long have you been in Gary's top group, and how did you get there? What was your success?
Sure. I mean, a couple of things happened. I will tell you this, probably for the first, I'm lucky. I got in, well, of course I do know the harder you work, the luckier you get. But I got in right before our market took off. So I had a good year or so to learn the ropes, because in Portland, 2005 to 2007, we were writing offers on the hoods of our car, right? So I was lucky I got in at a good time where I learned, and then the market took off. And I capped out for me where I would do 50 deals a year every year. And I would, that's all, unless there was an extra day or a few hours a day, that was a new invention that, we change in plans. Instead of 24 hours, we now have 30. I couldn't do more. And then in 2009, I did take a long vacation. My husband had a sabbatical, and our market had definitely corrected. And I did way less than my 50 units. And I really wasn't me. It was the market, right? Well, I went to Mega Camp and it's a Keller Williams event. And I'm watching these people on stage with Gary having their best year ever. And I really had I'm not going to swear on video, one of my oh crap moments that it's not the market, it's me. And I wanted to be in a place where I would be learning from people that are doing way more than me, and we're really sharing, and we're models based and systems based. So one of the things is when I got here, I got a coach, and I broke through that ceiling of 50. I hired a transaction coordinator that came from a team that did 90 deals. So guess what? He's the one who helped me figure out how to break through 50. I also got into coaching, so much so that I became a coach. And then finally, one of the things that my team still laughs about, we used to share one big office. And, we'll say it, I'm probably a little bit of a control freak. We all are to some extent. And when I would be on a coaching call and they'd be out of the office, they would come back an hour later and I'd be off my call and I'd have 2 listing appointments or 2 buyer consults. And they're like, you know what? You need to be like doing that more. So when we moved, my assistant, without me even asking, brought over my monitor and my chair, and I started working away from them. And wow, my productivity took off because I trusted them, but I didn't really need to know the play-by-play for every little detail. And so that all, having a great coach and being willing to kind of course, be in culture, but also, which being culture at KW is just really loving on people, knowing, sharing, giving, but also being innovative and trying different things and being okay with taking some risk and sharing the good and bad of what you learned. I think that's how I got a little bit of visibility, and it's been great.
What was the big message you were sharing back then? You were finding lots of success through a certain avenue.
So yeah, a couple things is, one, I made a strong business out of being a buyer's agent, and I love it. No disrespect to Mr. Keller. Gary's one of my heroes. I love him dearly. His book talks about listings, leads, and leverage. And it doesn't say buyer listings or buyer broker agreements in there as listings. And I do know seller listings are important, but I do also love the buyer business. Getting a buyer, you sure have to list them, right? You want them to be your clients and you want to be their agent. But when you're new in the business and you don't have a lot of money or experience and you have time and you're tenacious, buyers are a great way to get your business going. I did open houses. I worked with buyers. I even taught a MAPS course about just the little nuances on how to work with buyers, like all the things they don't teach you in real estate school and that you don't really learn, like just like the art of showing a home, some of the scripts to use in strategy sessions to set expectations with buyers. Hey, my take is if they sign an agreement with you and they're your buyer, you can break everything. I sit there and tell them, guys, this is a busy street. Let's make sure it's Sunday at 3. Let's meet for coffee at 7:30 tomorrow. Make sure. They're looking at me like, wait, we want to buy this house. I'm like, yeah. And I don't want you to call me in 6 months unhappy. Let's no house is perfect, but let's talk about these elephants in the parlor. Right. So I think part of it was being strong in buyers. The other thing is I've kind of gotten a reputation for is taking time off. I love vacation. Did you get that? Yeah. I love vacations. And I'd like to say that this was a master engineered thing that, I got into real estate so I can take these great vacations. The truth is, it's just like really real hardcore truth is I would get an appointment. Let's say I'd have appointments on Saturdays and I worked a lot, right? Especially at the beginning, building up my business. Mm-hmm. I might have a half hour, an hour in between appointments. I would go home because I'm so excited. I'm free between 1 and 2. I can go see my family. My family wasn't home. They had, baseball games, birthday parties, bike riding, farmers markets. And I realized they had this huge life, whether I was there or not. And so I knew if we didn't have something on the calendar every 2 to 3 months where we could reconnect, we wouldn't be able to spend the quality time I wanted. So I started really working with my coach on, production's really exciting and important. Why not flip it for me and change my goals to number of days off? And how do I take more and more time out of the office? Full disclosure, not only vacation, but also conferences or masterminds and business related things, but being out of the office, either connecting with agents or connecting with my family and having a business that still was able to run more and more without me. That was something that became we gamified it and had real fun watching those bars on the chart go up in terms of number of days off year over year. I was able to take 49 days off right before I joined Keller Williams. Then I took a full month in a row in June. And by then I was doing almost double the production, even more so. We are now getting ready to do that again because my husband has these sabbaticals through work. We're in 2020, we'll be taking some time. And it's just great. I mean, the truth is you can work real hard like our parents did and then they retire, or you can just retire as part of your life, right? What are those things you want to do, like travel and so forth? Just do them because What happens if you get to a certain age and you think you can do them and your health or your mobility or something happens and you're not able to enjoy them? You got to just do them when you can, right? So I just really believe in that motto.
Well, you're not alone in that. We actually teach that in QL for young adults. And that is what Gary talks about in Quantum Leap of we need to continue to be learning based, earning while we're earning and playing all at the same time. So in your travels and making that goal, how efficient did you have to be?
I had to be really efficient. I mean, we didn't realize sort of that, the communication. Right now, when we get an email, I can tell you, because I remember with my transaction coordinator, we used to have to sync up 4 or 5 times a day when I wasn't in the office. Yeah. And then it was at least daily, a couple times, morning and then evening. Now I can go weeks without talking to my transaction coordinator because we've gotten, the analogy I like to use is a surgeon in an operating room with an OR tech handing them the tools. At one point, you're probably asking for the exact scalpel you want. And then over time, you just put your hand out. And then before you know it, the person's putting the scalpel out before you ask. I joke, maybe that surgeon can go for a cup of coffee and the other person can do the surgery because they know how to read you so well. And so when we see an email, and if I might reply saying I'm on it or we're on it, we have an unspoken code of we know who's doing what and which ones I'm not doing and which ones I am, where if you're not clear there, you have to spend a lot of time saying, you're doing that or I'm doing that, or what happens after 5, or should I take care of it or do you need me to do it? And now it just sort of becomes a dance. It's really great.
That's awesome. You've found that person or those systems.
Yes.
So let's go into, I'm in Bold right now. Mm-hmm. And first off, it's amazing. We're getting to lab the new Bold. Right. And another thing that comes up a lot, and this may make you cringe, is a lot of agents have something in them against having a buyer sign a buyer broker agreement. That's what we call it. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure you didn't do 50 buyer side transactions without some kind of a written agreement.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have to have a written agreement.
And at those appointments is when you're really diving into all of the expectations on both sides.
Absolutely. I coach my team on this too. I think some of the people that have the hardest time with that buyer broker agreement as an agent are the ones that have just, like us, we've been around a while and we might have gotten a little sloppy with that and it's sort of optional. The truth is you can't list a house. You can't put a sign in front of a yard and put a lockbox and get a key without a contract, right? But we're willing, and that takes money, and as well as there's privacy and access considerations and just, legality on what we're doing and everybody agreeing and the payment terms. Well, on the buy side, I don't know why we're willing to give away our time without some sort of expectation agreement. And really, we call it a loyalty agreement. It is a buyer broker agreement, but it really shows that buyer that, hey, we're going to take this risk. We're going to spend months with you. We might spend months with you to convince you to actually not buy. Maybe you should rent right now because we're not clear on area, right? But as long as I know you're loyal to me and you're not using all of my expertise to then maybe have your cousin write the offer, that's all I'm looking for, right? Is just that loyalty, because I'm going to spend time away from other clients, my family, my interests, my hobbies without, I know it's not about getting paid. We'll get paid. But it's more just about how we spend our time, what we could be doing instead of what we're doing. It's just important.
So you have a team, and how many agents do you have on your team helping you?
Jenny, we're pretty lean. We have 3 buyers agents and we have 2 admin resources. I have a listing manager and a transaction coordinator.
And are you still pretty buyer heavy?
We're about 65-35, 60-40, which is actually always how it's been. I run a referral business, so most of my buyers are selling their house at some point, so I will always have some listings. Yeah. But it's 65-35.
So with that, you mentioned that you utilize showing agents to help. Mm-hmm. So how's that work? What's that look like?
So my model's pretty, I'm just noticing I have lipstick on my teeth. There we go. You can edit that out.
I didn't even
So my buyer's agents are, so showing agents, just the vernacular, right, is, hey, I'm a busy buyer's agent. I need someone to go open this door for me. Or can you go open these doors for this person? And because I can't make it. And then many of us compensate that agent, by the hour, by the door, something like that. Gary's a big fan of showing agents, just get leverage. First, get that paperwork person when you hit, especially if you're around 50 deals, 35, 40, 50 deals, get that paperwork person because you'll be able to service more clients. The next thing is get help on the buy side so that you can help more buyers. Because guess what? Most of our buyers want to see homes nights and weekends, right? So what I did is I put together a model that, and it evolved over time, where my buyer's agents kind of do everything up till finding the property. So there's, I call it 5 steps. They do they contact the client, they cultivate the relationship, they actually do the consult or strategy session. We call them a strategy session, and they get that buyer broker agreement signed in that session. And they explain, this is how it's going to work. We're going to find you the house, and Sarita is our lead negotiator. She's going to get you that house. But we never, as our market shifted, it's always been about our buyers. It's not so that Sarita can be free on the weekends. That's not what this is about. It's just that if they couldn't see a house when they needed to see it, they would miss it. If I can't show it to them on Friday afternoon till Friday afternoon, but my showing agent can get them through on Thursday when it went on the market, that gives them an extra night to sleep on it. So having that, and many of them, some of them have come to us from other agents where they felt the agent was too busy or that they were missing out on properties.
Yeah.
So my buyer's agents are actually become inventory specialists because they're looking at homes in a way where, wow, like, here's the deal. Sometimes you don't even know your criteria. You might know like 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, whatever. And then when you start seeing these houses, and I don't want to be too zen here, but you start feeling them, you realize this house feels right, this house feels wrong. My buyer's agents are so good at kind of figuring out how they're reacting. Like, oh, they really need an open plan, or, oh, they react poorly to dark, lots of trees and lots of darkness. They need natural light. So we can see some of those things, and those may not have been on our quote unquote questionnaire, right? But we're just finding out, wow, if this person rejects every home without a formal dining room, maybe we need to determine that's a requirement, right? So it's been great because then we can say, this blue house that didn't work for you, well, this yellow house that didn't work for the Millers may work for you because it was too big for them, but you wanted something a little bigger, right? So let's make sure you get into that. So we're really becoming experts on what's out there and offering some alternates sometimes just to narrow down. We've been reading a lot about AI and machine learning. It's human AI, right? You're kind of tweaking your network. You're based on the decisions you're getting, and you're making better suggestions. We're never selling, right? We're just consultative here, but we know houses better than anyone, and we can give them options that they may not have even thought of before.
Okay, so you've got your agents, you're calling them buyer agents, and they're really the consultant. They're on the front end. You just named the 5 things they're doing.
Yep.
And I know that others will want to know this answer. So they're compensated maybe at a different percentage or split because they're doing more work?
So they're doing more work than a showing agent probably, but they're doing less than a buyer's agent. So they're likely compensated in the middle. And what I love about this question and the way I'm answering it is I'm using the word compensation. I'm not using the word split because they actually do quite a bit less than what a full buyer's agent does. So, and their job stops essentially when they find the property.
Okay, so they're not negotiating the deal.
They're not negotiating. They're not doing repair addendums. They don't have to do kind of everything from contract to close with regards to that interaction and managing that cycle.
Okay, so
that allows them to service a lot more buyers and stay in the area that they love. They love to be a buyer's agent on my team. You just love that puzzle piece of the property and the person and finding the match. That's like their favorite thing.
I really like that idea. I really do. Well, let's go into some other things you've brought into your own world by your own choice recently, which is going back to school in the middle of all this.
Maybe the stupidest, smartest thing I've ever done, in whatever order we want to say it. I have a big birthday this year. I'm just happy to share it. I'll be 50 in July. And I feel like it's an age where you start questioning, like, how's my life? How do I want it to be? And actually, if I could just answer a different question before I get to this piece, is my mind blew up last year at family reunion in February when Gary Keller stood up on the stage and said, we're a tech company. I had this agenda for that conference and I just threw it out. Literally, I recycled it and I did every tech class there was. And I said, you know what, we're a tech company. I got to get my arms around this. And I raised my hand and I volunteered. I didn't even volunteer saying, pick me for labs. What I did was I started using it and started giving feedback. And me and Josh team were talking at 1 a.m. He's responding to my feedback, right? And he's like, hey, we need you in Austin. I ended up going to Austin 20 different times to be part of the labs process. What that means for those of you who aren't familiar with KW or labs is it's an agent-driven process to define our next technology. We literally had white sheets of paper. We were trying, because at the end of the day, an amazing, smart IT person isn't going to know real estate. And the great agents don't necessarily know the tech, but know what they want and how they work. And here's the thing, there's a lot of things we do sometimes that don't make sense that we already don't do. We do it because of the systems or limitations we have. Like we do things in different order because that's just sort of how some of the constraints. So if we were to able to even say, hey, is that the best way? Or could we do like that step first? Well, yeah, we could. We just became a habit based on some limitations that kind of became crutches for us, right? So it's been a great process. And as I mentioned before, my tech background, I was even at a CRM vendor. So being able, I'm not saying I'm like a developer by any means, but being able to sort of bridge the differences between tech and real estate, I just felt like it was a beautiful Venn diagram of me being in the intersection of real estate and tech and my two sides of my career coming together. Wow. So I loved it. And so that alone, Gary was having us read books like When Machines Become Everything or Platform Strategy or books about AI. And I realized like there's a whole bunch going on in this world that I don't quite get. I'm fascinated by it. Like Alexa and Siri fascinate me. And the amount of data, like I just looked at one thing and now of course all these Facebook ads are coming up on, the things, they can almost read my mind. I don't remember clicking on it even. And so I just felt like school is like, I always want to be learning. So I did apply to a graduate program at MIT. It's an executive MBA with very strong odds against me that I would get in. So of course I tapped my husband on the shoulder after having one of those nights where you stay up all night surfing and reading testimonials and watching webinars and being convinced you really want to do this. And he said, I said, honey, if I get in, I got to go. And he said, well, the good thing is it's MIT. You probably won't get in. And sure enough, when it happened, it's like, oh boy, here we go. And so it's a 20-month program it's actually full-time in Boston, but you actually fly out one weekend every 2 to 3 weeks. And then you do a lot of your homework and reading and papers and case studies part-time. Is it cutting into my business? Of course, it is. It takes time. Is it making me think bigger and making me a better person? Yes, in every facet. I didn't do this. There's many people who do this because they're kind of mid-career and they might want to shift into management. There's physicians in our program that might want to get into administration. For me, I love real estate. It's quite frankly the career that allowed me to go to this, but it's made me think way bigger, use frameworks and models, which is right down our alley on the language Gary speaks and what we've learned. And I actually just was able, I'm not saying it in a bragging way, I'm involved in a really huge project here that I can't go into in a lot of detail, but it's a win and a project that I'm confident I wouldn't have if I didn't think the way I think now. So it's already changed me, not to mention the people that I've met. So it's been a great opportunity. And if it's the true MasterCard commercial, right? Like, hot dog, $10, game ticket, $20, experience priceless. Like these things cost money in time and in money. They take you away from your family and your clients and your quality of life. But I do think the change is immeasurable and it is priceless. So it's been really huge for me.
Wow, that's the true definition of being learning based, I'd say.
Yes, it really is. It's a 20-month program and I'm actually sad that it's 8 months over and 1 month left. 1 year left. And every time I leave, I'm like happy to go because like I miss my family. And then one day later, I miss my friends at school. So it's been this weird double thing. It's kind of crying and laughing at the same time. It's like the worst emotion ever. Like I don't want to travel. And at the same time, I love going. I love school. I love my friends there and my cohort, right? So it's been really great.
Yeah. Well, I think that a lot of the people that will be watching this are Keller Williams agents. And so what would be some of your top tips on getting involved or diving into Command and Kelly and all of that stuff? You shared one on stage that kicked my thinking into high gear. So I appreciate you.
Oh yeah, no. Which one was the one that spoke to you?
Opportunities.
Yeah. Opportunities, absolutely. So my thing is, it's very easy to criticize something that's not fully baked yet, right? So if there's a lot of people online that are, oh, this is not perfect or whatever, use it, give feedback, and then revisit it. You know, like I said this, I think on stage too, not everyone buys the Apple iPhone the first day. Some people can't handle the bugs or whatever, you know, they don't want to wait in line for something. They kind of want to maybe buy second generation because it's been tested. That's fine. There's others that are like, bring it. I want to use it. I'll figure it out. I want to make it better. Opportunities does work today. It's amazing. And it's a way for me, I'm 100% paperless now. And for as remote as I am, I'm so happy I don't have Post-its and whiteboards and a strong memory, because my memory is failing me.
Yeah.
So to be able to have a pipeline that's visual, that's almost like if you guys use Trello, like a visual cards that you can move along a pipeline stage. And every time I have an appointment, I put it in there and I watch the stages. It's been great. I also am able to just text my assistant, say this agreement's ready to go. And before I'd have to spend a lot of time doing knowledge transfer, but all the details are there. So opportunities is great. Use Kelly, use Command. What I did is I moved a segment of years. I put past clients in, right? So it's a great place to like touch your past clients, set them up for neighborhood plans. You're betaing Bold 2.0, like we're redefining what a contact is, right? Is it a phone call? Is it a two-way interaction? Is it a text? Is it a Facebook Messenger? Yes. A lot of times my scripts for my clients are pretty simple. Hey, I was driving by your house, which is true. I was thinking about you. I just sent one to a client. Don't you miss me? We closed 2 weeks ago and I like miss our daily texts. How are you? And they're like, of course we miss you, you know? And then of course I asked them for a review at the same time, but it's just sweet to be able to connect and be authentic and real and then have ways to record it.
Oh, I love it. I love it all. All right. So what's your team's goals this year?
So our goals, I mean, we do kind of measure, like we were pretty literal on this whole taking time off. We like to kind of essentially do about the same year over year and have a bigger and bigger life.
Yeah.
2 years ago was our best year. We did close to 78 million for 2.1 in GCI. Last year, I certainly took less. Did less. I was out of the office way more. And in fact, this year, 2019, I counted, it's essentially 54 days at school, not counting travel, which is another 40. So like, I'm not saying I'm not full-time. I'm just saying that I have to be way more efficient. But back to what you were saying, my number one tip for everyone is not from a text perspective, but just a time management perspective. I guess there's two. One, just be really not afraid to say no. Every single thing I say no to is deliberate for me to say yes to the right things. When you have the benefit of a great market, you can say yes to bad expenses and get away with it. And you can say yes to time wasting and get away with it. And as a market shifts, you got to treat your time just like money. And you also have to cut any expense. Like I cut a bunch of things where I'm looking at the ROI and I know I can do better. And before I just sort of leave it because some switching costs might be a pain, including time. Now I'm like, I'm not seeing the ROI. I just give notice. So I think people should be really reread shift. And you know what? Worst case, the market doesn't shift as much as you thought. You're over prepared. There's no such thing as cutting too many expenses. You'll be in a position to have more discretionary spending later. But I think we're in the middle of a market shift, as well as a technology shift, as well as an industry changing. So like those three things all at once, you should be looking at how you spend your time and how you spend your money.
I love the message. It needs to be heard. It needs to be shared. It's all about making people feel good and also you connecting and staying in touch with your family. That's what matters, right?
Absolutely.
Well, how can people share referrals with you or get in touch if they have questions?
Anytime. I think I might be maxed out on my Facebook friends, but message me. I'm going to just leave my email, Sarita@AskSarita.com, or text me anytime. My cell is everywhere, 503-522-0090. And if people have questions as well. I am teaching more details on my showing agent model. Actually, my next time I'm teaching it is in September in San Diego. So if anyone wants to hear more, I really dig deep onto like the exact mechanics of how that works.
They can also follow you on KW Connect and you and Kelly.
Find me on, definitely add me to your referral network on Kelly and any social as well, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc.
Well, I appreciate you so much for sharing all your time. You're awesome.
Thanks, Jenny, for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah. If you guys need anything from me, my number is 918-706-9845. Bye.